This is Vader Reviews. We are honored that you would join us. With Super Mario Bros. Making over $1 billion at the box office, and the nationwide surge of people trying to take last Friday off so they could all buy Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, it's a pretty good time to be Nintendo right about now. And with the news that they are actively developing other films based on their various video game properties, here are my top 5 Nintendo films I would like to see. We're coming in hot with number 5, Fire Emblem. Now, I could have ran a quick Google search to try and fake some nerd cred like some YouTubers do, but I will admit I don't know much about this franchise as a whole. I was originally introduced to the characters in Super Smash Bros., and while Martha's wizard and I like Ike, Roy's my boy. Because let's be honest here, it doesn't get much cooler than an explosively overpowered flaming sword. I always enjoy anime-style medieval stories, and the little I've seen of Fire Emblem Warriors show there is a lot of world building and lore they could pull from. The colorful fantasy worlds anime studios, manga artists, and JRPG developers create are visually stunning, and from that standpoint alone, Fire Emblem makes my list. Racing in at number 4 is F-Zero X. Admittedly a more obscure pick, I'll grant you. But if high-octane, full-throttle mayhem gets your motor running, an F-Zero X film can't get the green light from Nintendo fast enough. Having grown up pod racing on Tatooine as a youngling, the visual storytelling possibilities for this franchise set my motorhead racing. It's basically pod racing, the Fast and the Furious, Star Wars bounty hunters, superheroes, and Mad Max Fury Road all mixed together in a crazy cyberpunk world full of aliens, droids, genetically engineered talking dinosaurs, and monkeys, with a heavy metal soundtrack. What more could you ask? I know I'd race to the theaters to see it, and I can't be the only one who would like to see the iconic Falcon punch on the big screen. Let's keep the ball rolling with my number 3 pick, Metroid. A prime example of atmospheric sci-fi. When you've got errands to run and discount xenomorphs to kill, there's only one bounty hunter to call. The bounty hunting ball of energy herself, Samus Aran. And I know some people have argued that Samus doesn't talk enough to carry a storyline. But in recent years, I would argue we've seen how a strong silent bounty hunter covered head to toe in armor can be pretty wizard. Samus even had a baby Metroid tagging along with her for a while there, so this would basically be Nintendo's Mandalorian, with some spooky Ridley Scott influences thrown in for good measure. My only real concern would be whether or not Illumination could handle a more serious animation style, because Metroid needs a darker, more atmospheric tone. The Metroid Prime series on the GameCube developed such a rich and detailed world, and I would love to see it fully realized on the big screen. My number 2 pick is a Triforce to be reckoned with. With the popularity of Breath of the Wild and its long-awaited sequel, Tears of the Kingdom, this legendary franchise hardly needs an introduction. Put simply, it high rules. Yes sir, you'd have to be a complete Goron not to have The Legend of Zelda on any top 10 list for Nintendo games that need movie adaptations. Its complex and visually stunning world lends itself perfectly to a cinematic experience, and in the hands of the right director, I believe it has the potential to be the very best movie video game adaptation of all time, from an artistic and storytelling standpoint. Now, rather than an adaptation of Ocarina of Time or Twilight Princess, I, for one, would love to see a completely original story that still links into the established continuity of the games, so that way there would still be room for surprises in the movie theater. And if they properly utilize the musical themes and world of Legend of Zelda half as well as they did with Mario, it would be a beautiful film indeed, particularly if it was animated in the style of Studio Ghibli. Admittedly, one of the hardest obstacles to overcome would be who voices the hero of legend himself, Link. It's no secret our pointy-eared Hylian hero isn't much for conversation, but I think maybe Elijah Wood could do the job. Give him a blonde wig and a bow and arrow and he basically looks like Link anyway. Come to think of it, A Legend of Zelda movie directed by Peter Jackson could be pretty wizard indeed. Now with everything I've just said, you might be wondering how in the world The Legend of Zelda isn't in my number 1 slot. Hey, listen, it all comes down to one simple thing. Personal nostalgia. The first Legend of Zelda game I ever played was Breath of the Wild. Before that, Link was just that fun Robin Hood guy I played in Smash Bros. When I was younger. So while I love the world and characters of the franchise now, it doesn't have the same emotional connection for me as my number 1 pick. Open the wings and check your G-diffuser systems, because flying in at number 1 is Star Fox. I have a lot of fond memories of this franchise, particularly Star Fox 64. You see, when I was a youngling, I was introduced to Star Wars, Star Fox, and the 3D gaming revolution all at once. So not only was my imagination expanded by seeing Star Wars for the first time, the Nintendo 64 literally changed the game with fully 3D graphics unlike anything I'd ever seen before. The first 2 games I ever played on the console were Star Fox 64 and Shadows of the Empire. And I'm not exaggerating when I say I've wanted to see a Star Fox movie or cartoon series since 1997. Because it was everything I wanted to see as a youngling. It was like Star Wars with animal characters. I loved the SWAT Cats, as well as Disney's Robin Hood. So for me, Star Fox would have been the ultimate action cartoon series. With the visual capabilities of modern computer animation, a Star Fox movie could deliver breathtaking interstellar dogfights and fast-paced action sequences, while developing the characters and worlds of the Lylat system in ways longtime fans of the franchise have wanted to see for years. Hearing all of the classical themes from Star Fox 64 reimagined in a full, sweeping orchestral film score would be nothing short of incredible. And with how perfectly the world of Super Mario was brought to life, seeing Star Fox treated with the same care and attention would be a dream come true. As we all know, spinning is a good trick, so watching Fox McCloud do a barrel roll on the big screen would make me one happy Sith Lord indeed. But those are my choices. Now that Super Mario Bros. Has crossed $1 billion in the box office, it's safe to say the floodgates are wide open for video game adaptations in the near future. So what games or characters would you like to see on the big screen? Comment below and let me know. And if you're new here, join the Empire today by subscribing. And together, we will rule the internet. And since it's Mother's Day, by Imperial decree, hug your mama.